This program is brought to you by Rogers Xfinity, connecting you to more of what you love. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
RTV Sports Rap, Spencer Byers, and joining me this week, JC Coots, Manny Pava. I believe Mark McKelvey may be joining us. We'll keep our expectations tendered at the moment, and Adrian Musso also should be joining us here in a couple of moments. But gentlemen, lots of things have been happening, obviously. OHL playoff, NHL playoff, NBA playoff, oh my. But the most recent news is in the MLB. Rob Manfred, the commissioner of the MLB in baseball, has come out and said that lifetime bans to players that have not been allowed into Hall of Fame voting will end once they have passed away. And as Pete Rose most recently passed away, of course, Shoeless Joe Jackson of the Black Sox scandal in the early teens, as they are deceased, their lifetime bans have been lifted. So they are now eligible to be put into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Now, obviously, this opens up a lot of different avenues of, is this right? Is this, I'll say, obviously kind of morbid in a way, but it is interesting to see that Pete Rose, a guy who everyone talks about as obviously the hit leader all time in baseball history, isn't in the Hall of Fame. Barry Bonds, home run king, is not in the Hall of Fame. Roger Clemens is not in the Hall of Fame. So does Pete Rose, does Shoeless Joe Jackson get in, Manny Pava?
Good to be with you, Spencer. I forgot to put on my Jason Tatum jersey to weep with you about the Celtics, but I'm sure we'll get to that in just a moment.
Too soon, Manny, too soon.
Still too soon? Okay. Listen, I think this is a clear move to put Pete Rose into the Hall of Fame. They were looking for an avenue to try to get him in, and I think they found one. I actually think there was a little bit of pressure from the White House and the new president in the U.S. to Rob Manfred to try to figure out a way to get him in, and I think this is the avenue that they're going through, and I think it opens a whole can of worms. Pete Rose will get into the Hall of Fame for his merits on the field. Hit Machine, Charlie Hustle was his nickname back in the day. I also think it opens the door for Shoeless Joe Jackson to get into the Hall of Fame because, yes, maybe some of you will only know him by the fact that he was made famous for throwing the World Series as part of the Black Sox scandal. But he was a heck of a ball player and put up some major stats in the early 1900s when he was a ball player. But now there's going to be a discussion here about whether Mark McGwire or Barry Bonds should get into Hall when they pass away, because so far there's been no appetite to put them into the Hall when they've been alive. The difference between a Pete Rose and a Barry Bonds is they were both kept out of the Hall for different reasons. One for betting on baseball, the other one for performance-enhancing drugs, for altering your performance on the field. And I think that's where the gray line will be drawn in the sand at third place next to the Jung's tic-tac-toe game that they played on the weekend in Detroit. I do see this as an avenue for Pete Rose to get into the Hall. I'm really interested to see if Shoeless Joe gets into the Hall.
I'm also very intrigued to see what the Veterans Committee decides to do with this. As early as 2028, Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson, among others, could be entered into Cooperstown. JC, what do you think?
I've been somebody that's always kind of thought that Pete Rose deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Like, his crime didn't happen when he was a player. It happened when he was a manager, when he was betting on games, and whether or not he bet on games that the Cincinnati Reds, who he was managing at the time, were actually involved. That's still up for debate. But what he did on the field, being the greatest hitter of all time, that's undeniable. So I would have liked to have seen that relationship be healed before he passed away so that he would have had a chance to get to go in the Hall while he was still living. Although to his discredit, I guess he didn't exactly do the best things leading up to or throughout the decades. He always kind of poked fun at the situation, and he kind of made a bit of a sideshow of himself. And so obviously that was a little bit hard for that relationship to be reconciled. Shoeless Joe, I mean, as famously pointed out in the fantastic baseball movie Field of Dreams, you could make an argument that he wasn't trying to throw the game because he still had a 375 batting average in that series. Like, he was phenomenal. So if he was trying to lose that series, it definitely was not evident based in the stats. So if he gets in, I think that's a good thing. If Pete Rose gets in, that's a good thing for baseball. As Manny pointed out, there might be some outer influences on this whole situation, but it does raise a lot of questions of, like, if these guys can now get in, who else can get in? And why do you have to wait to die before you can be eligible? Is death the ultimate forgiveness? I don't know. It's a weird situation all around, but I'd say this, it was pretty surprising to hear that news, because baseball that's the one thing that they've been stern on for a century now, going back to the Shoeless Joe scandal, that they weren't budging on that, and all of a sudden they've now budged.
I will throw this out there, guys, to think about. I kind of see this as a slap in the face for the Rose family too. Like, after all the lobbying, you're gonna wait till he's dead before putting him into the hall. I really wonder, I know this is fresh news and such, I really wonder how the family takes it.
And obviously, that's a great question, Manny, because he just passed away in September of 2024. So not even been a year since he has been gone, and now he's eligible for the Hall of Fame after, as you mentioned, all the lobbying, all of the asking, almost you could say begging the MLB to at least let him on the ballot. Not let him in, don't just put him straight in, but at least let him on the ballot so he could be voted on by his peers and by the Veterans Committee and what have you. And I think the fear, maybe from the MLB standpoint, was he was going to get in. We all knew he was going to get in, because what voter is not going to let a guy who played 24 years in baseball not in the Hall of Fame when he has the hits record, when he was, hustle and all of that. So I do wonder how the Rose family does feel about this decision being made, not even 7-8 months after his passing, as Adrian Musso makes his way slowly into the call. I will let him weigh in. Adrian, welcome. What do you think of the MLB's decision to allow Shoeless Joe Jackson and Pete Rose onto the ballot for a Hall of
First
Fame?
of all, it is 2025 and I could not figure out my computer. This is ridiculous. So sorry about all that confusion.
Hey, Adrian, there's a problem with your background too. Just throwing it out there.
I guess you have to plug in your computer to make sure that it's charged. Eh? So that's one of the problems. The second problem was that it took till 2025 for them to finally accept their error and allow Pete Rose into the Hall of Fame. And I think that when he is eligible to be on his first ballot, he will get in. Arguably the best player to ever play the game, Mr. Hustle, Charlie Hustle, for a reason. The way that he played the game was exactly what you would teach a player at a young age, to play with heart, to play with determination, and just to be one of the best hitters to ever play the game. And then I heard JC at one point when I was sort of on, he said that everything happened when he was a manager. So I had this debate back in 2013 in my first year sports ethics class when we were having the great debates at the University of Windsor. And I just didn't understand why he wasn't in then, because everything that he did it as a manager. So you're putting him into Hall of Fame as a player. I think he should be voted in. And if I'm going to be completely honest, I don't know enough about Shoeless Joe Jackson and his story to comment. But if they're allowing him back in to the Hall of Fame, I don't know how good of a player he was. It was 1919 at the time. So I don't know if any of us know how good he actually was. Why not? Send him in too.
Well, Adrian, I will now go to those Detroit Tigers that I think Manny may have been mentioning there, as they've had a very hot start in the MLB season, where 40 games.
The Tigers get hot.
40 games roughly in or so. What has been your estimation of the MLB season and maybe for your Tigers specifically?
Oh, honestly, I've been dialed into this Tigers team all season long. I watch one of every 3 games on TV from start to finish. I'll catch every other one like for an inning or two because they're just winning by like 10 runs or more. So like, why do I even need to watch the entire game when I know the outcomes, what it's going to be? Jackson Jobe, the way that he pitched last night against the Red Sox was phenomenal. And Casey Mize is that even have a good season. And let's I haven't even mentioned the reigning AL Cy Young Award winner has been lights out. 6-0 in his last 6 starts. And then an 0.96 ERA in those starts. Oh, he's been on fire. I love the Tigers. I like the team that they have composed. I do think there's some. Go look at the NL West standings. There, you have the Rockies that are in there with them. I think they have 6 wins, but then 7 wins now. Every other team is about 7 games over 500. It's very impressive what the NL West is doing down there, and they have some juggernaut of teams. That's going to be a gauntlet come playoff time.
It always is with the Dodgers, now the Padres figuring it out, and obviously the Giants and the D-backs who have had some great pitching over the last couple of years. Javi Baez finally playing up to the contract. Only took him, was it 4 years, I think? 3 or 4?
Listen, don't get in the way of a good story here. You don't have to focus on the past. Focus on the present. And I'm glad my fellow Tigers fan, Adrian, pointed out all the good things. Tremendously good things. And remember, we don't even have a center fielder. Baez is playing center field. So imagine if he was actually playing shortstop or third base.
Imagine he's playing shortstop. He'll be hitting his weight. You're right. Imagine him playing shortstop. He'd be hitting his weight. And he'd be committing errors on the base pass and in the field.
Focus on the past. If you really want to focus on the past, this show should just be about Tatum and his Achilles heel. But I won't go there just yet again. However, I will say, everybody talks about the NL West. The AL Central is on fire. The Tigers tied for the lead with 27 wins, but the Guardians have won 6 of their last 10. The Royals have won 15 of their past 19. The Twins had won 8 in a row. Like, the best division in baseball is the AL Central. It's not even the AL East with your Yankees or JC's Blue Jays. What are the Jays going to do? Are they just going to play 500 ball all year?
Well, like they're going to do what they always do, Manny. Sign guys that barely hit their weight, and Anthony Santander. And obviously, I like the acquisition of Jimenez at second base. But again, he's not a good hitter. Never was a good hitter, even in Cleveland. So, yeah, good point. JC, what are your thoughts through 40 games for the Toronto Blue Jays?
Hey, 500's pretty darn good, all things considered. I'm going to take the glass half full approach here. I did not expect much from them. They had an okay April. They traditionally, even when they've had good teams, have had awful Aprils. So they've been okay. Unfortunately, the pitching has been super inconsistent. Jeff Hoffman has just had some absolute bombs coming in to try to save the game at times. And I don't think anybody is surprised by some of the injuries to the starting pitching, namely that 40-year-old dud whose name I can't even remember. Scherzer, was that his name? Yeah,
I think they miss him.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know that he'll ever be back. Apparently, he's had another setback as of yesterday, and may not be back for quite some time. So, I mean, if they can keep at a good pace, and they've been a little bit streaky. I mean, they just swept the Rockies, who lead the AL West. So, I mean, that is something. They've been playing some pretty decent ball. The series this week against Tampa Bay will really tell you where they're at, because if they are unsuccessful in this series, they're going to fall further down the standings in the AL East. But they are kind of keeping pace right now with the Red Sox. The Yankees started a bit slow, but have found their way, and again will be an unstoppable machine as the season goes on. But you know what? I think if you're a Jays fan and you weren't expecting much this season, being 500 at this point, hey, I'm all right with that. I'll still probably go to a couple more games this season. I'll give him my money.
You mean the guy who's got the most hits, the most home runs, and the best average right now in the AL in Aaron Judge. So just Make sure I had to get that out there. Talk about the best hitter in all of baseball. Sorry,
I love
Shohei. Take
how
a seat.
Spencer doesn't have a hockey team. He doesn't have a football
And
team
I don't have a
anymore.
football team or a hockey
His
team. What do you
basketball
mean?
team, they're all
Whoa,
terrible.
whoa, 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 whoa,
No,
whoa,
I'm saying they're all
whoa,
terrible. So now you got to focus the
whoa.
conversation on
Okay.
the
Okay, okay, okay,
Yankees
okay, okay.
and
The
Aaron
Celtics
Judge.
are reigning NBA champions till they are eliminated, which is still remains to be seen. My Niners have had a very bad year and are probably going to be not good next year with all the guys that are hurt and all the guys that have left. Not going to argue that. I'm not sure the Bruins what they're going to look like. I'd like some sort of retool rebuild because they need to get younger, much younger. But I'm okay with that because you know what's called, Manny? Being a fan. It's okay to lose. My Niners lost every year when I was a kid. I fell in love with Frank Gore and Alex Smith and Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman. Those were my guys, and they will be my guys. So you just
I,
find hope in the few guys
Living
that
in
you
the
like.
past again.
Oh,
yeah,
living in the
right.
past, man. All you.
And they weren't even good in the past.
No, they weren't. You're right. In my history, they haven't been good. But hey, that's why I'm a fan. I cheer for the Niners. I got a jacket that's twice as old as me, and I'm happy to stay with my fandom's Manny Pava. We'll now go to the NHL, where the playoffs continue to have some amazing playoff hockey. And I'm not sure if I've heard about it enough because, again, the games continue to be great even with the Washington Capitals in the series no one talks about, no one cares about between Carolina and Washington. Carolina up 3-1 currently on the President's Trophy winning Washington Capitals. Edmonton and Vegas continuing on, and that heavyweight tilt that continues to go back and forth. Same thing with the Winnipeg Jets and the Dallas Stars. And of course, the Panthers and Leafs are now tied 2-all. No Leaf fan here, so I'll let the Habs fan have their fun. Actually, you know what? I'll go to the Sens fan first. JC, what have been your thoughts as second round has continued here in the NHL?
Well, I know that Leafs fans were really giddy after the first couple of games in that series against Florida. But again, you have to remember you're taking on the defending champs. The series is going to go back to Miami. And now with it tied, I think things have panned out exactly kind of as a lot of people expected. And the Panthers are doing this right now without Matthew Tkachuk being really at his healthiest. I think he's got some lingering issues, and we haven't seen him really have any sort of a major impact in this series. His ice time's been a little bit limited compared to what we normally see. But the Panthers are kind of starting to turn the tables a little bit, play more of their brand of hockey where it's a little bit tighter defensively. Obviously, there's a lot of head games occurring in this series. The one thing for them that hasn't gone their way is they haven't necessarily had the goaltending. They did in game 4. Bobrovsky finally seemed to find his stride, and if he can stay good, then the Leafs definitely have a chance. I mean, luckily for them, they've been getting some great goaltending out of Joseph Woll. It looks like Stolarz is slowly working his way back, but isn't quite there. I don't think he's going to be with the team for Game 5, but the Leafs are they seem to be okay in their crease situation right now. It's just finding a way to beat Florida and stay out of the penalty box. That's been two of the biggest factors for them. That Edmonton game the other night, though, was just some fantastic Oilers hockey. They've now won 7 of their last 8 playoff games. The one they lost, I think Draisaitl probably tipped that one into his own net. So even Stuart Skinner has come back now and looked pretty decent in the net. He's traditionally had some pretty good, or Jeff Skinner, I should say. He's traditionally had some good Game 5s. Did I get that wrong? Adrian's making a face at me. Yeah.
Yeah, you had
You
it
were
right
right the first time.
Yeah, I thought so. Thank you, boys. He looked a lot better in Game 4. So that now obviously creates a bit of a crease situation. If Pickard is available, do you stay with Skinner? Do you go back to Pickard? Edmonton's got a bit of a toss-up, but their guys are playing really well, and Evander Kane had a fantastic game in Game 4. The one goalie that's not playing well for the Canadian teams that are remaining is Connor Hellebuck, who still can't win on the road. The Jets have a big problem there, and there were some questions about whether or not they might go to the backup for the next game just to try to shake things up. Doesn't look like they're going to do that. Hellebuck's likely going to get the start and continue to be the guy. I mean, he has to. He's an MVP candidate, likely a Vezina winner this year. So they're going to have to stay with him and ride him out in this series. But he's, he is really not giving them a chance to win these games. And if they don't win the next one against Dallas, they're in some big trouble.
Adrian, I wanted to go to you now because of Connor Hellebuck. You spoke, a couple of weeks ago about how you thought Connor Hellebuyck was the Hart Trophy winner right now against Leon Draisaitl and Nick Kucherov, pardon me, Nikita Kucherov as the finalist. And obviously, he's the favorite and finalist for the Vezina with Darcy Kemper as well as Andrei Vasilevsky. So, Adrian, 8 games on the road for Connor Hellebuyck, save percentage of 8.48, goals against of over 5. What do you think's gone wrong for him, I guess?
I think he hasn't studied goaltending enough. If anybody heard that quote, that was a wild quote by Connor Hellebuyck. I've studied more goaltending than anybody else on this planet, he said, and he could figure it out if anybody else could. Just when he said that comment, I was just like, I actually kind of hope he loses. Like, be a little bit humility in your life can go a long way. So
time to go back to school.
Go back to school. Didn't get enough education over there in his NCAA degree. I don't know. I actually don't even know what's going wrong with him on the road, because at home he plays relatively well, but it's the whole system as a whole. Like, you look at that Rantanen goal after the one that was kicked in, the Petrovic goal. He just walks right down the slot, doesn't even have a stick touch him, and he goes bar down. Like, yeah, you're going to let Rantanen, one of the hottest players in the NHL, if not the hottest player in the playoffs so far, walk down Broadway and rip one bar south like that. Like, yeah, he's gonna score. So, I mean, it's not all on Hellebuyck as a whole. I put it more on the defense as a whole, and they play better in front of the whiteout, which is awesome to see in Winnipeg, but they're going to need to steal one here tonight.
That they are obviously getting Josh Morrissey back is also a big ad for them. Manny Pava, what have you kind of seen throughout the second round as it continues?
Dallas looks good. Like, I'm not concerned about Dallas. Yeah, that was a tough ending for the Oilers against Vegas the other night. Vegas hanging around just like they did against the Minnesota Wild in a lot of that series, because I thought for the most part the Wild were really good in that first round series. I know Leafs fans are a little bit nervous, but the home teams won every game. The Leafs have home ice advantage. As long as Toronto holds serve on Wednesday night in Game 5, I think they'll be fine. Like, this is the playoffs. It's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be hard to win the Stanley Cup. And I think we're seeing that. Connor Hellebuyck, it's a good thing that they vote on the Hart Trophy for the regular season and not the playoffs. Because if voters were watching him play in the playoffs, he wouldn't be one of the 3 finalists.
I couldn't agree more with that, Manny. Like, he would probably maybe not win the Vezina, but he definitely wouldn't win the Hart if he did. Obviously, you mentioned the voting. So let's actually go through it, guys. I'll start with you, Manny. Who would you be your Hart winner between Kucherov, Draisaitl, and Connor Hellebuyck? Obviously, trying to forget what's happening in the playoffs right now.
Yeah, you've got to forget about the playoffs, right? But I still go with Leon Draisaitl as my MVP.
What about you, Adrian? MVP winner.
My decision hasn't changed. It's Connor Hellebuyck. You look at Leon Draisaitl, for instance. Look at the surrounding cast. He has Connor McDavid passing him the puck on a daily basis. You look at Kucherov. He has Point, Hedman, Gensel. Who does Connor Hellebuyck actually have? Like, Kyle Connor had a monster year, 93 points. But to have those defensive numbers, you go through the back end of the Winnipeg Jets, it's nothing to rave about. You got Neil Pionk. Josh Morrissey is an elite defenseman in this league, but he's not a superstar by no means. Luke Shen on there, Dylan Sandberg, Logan Stanley. Like, these aren't big names. And the reason that they had 43 wins, it's all because of Connor Hellebuyck that they won they came in first in the Western Conference. The one thing that I will say that I would take away a few votes from Connor Hellebuyck and a resistance why goaltenders in general shouldn't win the MVP is that they don't play every game. The last MVP goaltender was Carey Price with the Montreal Canadiens, and you know what? When you have Carey Price in net for the Montreal Canadiens, why wouldn't you vote him every single season?
Very true, Adrian, as the Habs fan that you are. I'm going to skip the Lindsay. Guys up for it are
What about
Kucherov.
JC Hart?
Oh, pardon me. I was just going to say I'm skipping the Ted Lindsay. I was going to go to
Forgot about JC last week.
I was not forgetting about JC. I was mentioning we're going to skip the Lindsay because we're not talking about the players' vote for the MVP. We're talking about the media vote. JC, who would you pick between Hellebuyck, Kucherov, as well as Leon Draisaitl?
I'm very forgettable, so no offense taken, Spencer. You know what? To Adrian's point, I do kind of wonder. It's always been in the back of my mind. Would Leon Draisaitl be nearly as great of a player on any other team? Like if he were on the Ottawa Senators, would he be putting up those numbers? If he were on the Washington Capitals, would he be putting up those numbers? Maybe if he had Ovechkin feeding him feeding him the puck, but it's hard to say. Typically, these two guys, McDavid and Draisaitl, do play on the same line together. I think they split them up the other night in the win. But if you've got McDavid on your line, or if you've got Sidney Crosby on your line, or if you've got Gretzky on your line, you're going to look pretty darn good. So I don't know. I know that both of them went through some injury troubles this year, and Edmonton's record without Draisaitl in the lineup definitely wasn't as great. If you break it down to some individual statistics and look at different things between him and Kucherov, really, you can make a case either way. And I really like Adrian's point on the fact that goalies don't play every game. So it's always tough for them to win an MVP award. That said, I wouldn't be surprised if Kucherov does take the award on a Tampa Bay team that had a bit of an off year, but he still looks solid.
Well, JC, I won't skip you this time to the Vezina. Hellebuyck, Vasilevsky, Kemper. Is it Connor Hellebuyck's award to lose kind of thing?
I really think it is. I mean, he did a lot of things, put up a lot of great numbers this season, was consistent all the way through the regular season as a goaltender, and I really would be surprised if anybody else wins this award.
Manny and or Adrian, anybody other than Connor Hellebuyck? I assume, Adrian, you got to pick him since you pick him for the Hart.
.927 save percentage, 2 flat goals against. It's Connor Hellebuyck all day.
Manny Pava, Vezina winner. Connor Hellebuyck?
Yeah, he doesn't get my Hart vote, but he gets my Vezina vote.
Well, guys, I'm now going to go to the Calder because obviously Lane Hutson is there with Macklin Celebrini as well as Dustin Wolf, the goalie for Calgary. Adrian, does Lane Hutson win the Calder?
I don't think there's a question in my mind. And yeah, I'm actually going to put my bias aside. To do what Lane Hutson did as a defenseman coming out of college after only playing, I believe he played a total of 47 games last year, including tournaments. To play a full 82-game season and continue to get better and better, and then take a power play that was ranked in the bottom 5 of the league last year and put it into the mid-pack of the league. It was truly impressive. With all that being said, for Macklin Celebrini to do what he did as an 18-year-old, also impressive. I think Dustin Wolf finishes third. Again, goalies don't play every game. He is 23 years old. So when I consider a rookie, that's not who I truly consider. For me, it's 21 or under. So it's Celebrini or Hudson. And honestly, I'll give it to Hudson just for without Lane Hutson, Montreal Canadiens do not make the playoffs.
About 15 seconds, Manny. Lane Hutson, Calder winner?
It's not even a question.
So I assume that's a yes. JC,
That's
I'll give you the
correct.
last. I'll give you the last word. Calder winner, Hudson or Macklin Celebrini.
Tough to do what he's done and have as many power play points as he had as a defenseman and a rookie. So yeah, he's going to win.
Well, I'll pick Macklin Celebrini for some color. For JC Coots, Adrian Musso, Manny Pava, myself, Spencer Byers, and the great Mark Perry behind the camera. We'll see you next week on RTV Sports Rap.
Followers.
Go Habs, go.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
You're watching an interesting local show on Rogers TV and you want to know more. That's when you head to rogerstv.com. Our website provides more information about our programs, our hosts, our schedule, and about how you too can get involved with Rogers TV. Visit us online at rogerstv.com.
Calling all journalism students, Omni Television is once again awarding scholarships to qualified students pursuing a career in third language journalism.
You could go from here to here. Get started. Apply for the Omni Scholarship